Hi, Lanvin. Hi, Julius. Hope I called it well correctly. Hi, Paul. So we are discussing today the difference between emotional intelligence and um, intellectual intelligence. Okay, so as soon as my co-host is ready, then we'll be debating this. Hello, Julius. Thanks for the hello, Lenvin. It's always nice to get the human feel when somebody. Hi, Dr. Tembega Buleni, and thanks for the likes. Thank you for the likes. And please share if you know that there might be people who are interested in discussing this type of topic. Um, we are discussing emotional intelligence versus intellectual intelligence, and actually this applies everywhere, in the workplace, even at home. You are forced to apply yourself on this level, so it will just be interesting to discuss basically in the workplace. Thanks for sharing the live, guys. Please share, continue to share, and I'm grateful for all the likes. I really appreciate your likes. um, I'm encouraged. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So it will be interesting to see, because in actual fact, emotional intelligence is a big differentiator. It sets you apart, to be honest, from somebody who is okay. Dr. TC is on, so I'm just going to um, invite her. Then we can discuss. Um, Dr. TC,
Hello.
hi. Much better.
Yeah, much better as well.
The audio is much better. Yeah, I had to run away from the generator because I couldn't even hear myself. That's why I was concerned if you could even hear me. Um,
Yeah. Kept on
so,
breaking.
am I breaking?
No. Like earlier on.
Oh, okay. Is it stable now?
Yeah,
Clear enough? Oh,
yes.
yeah,
Even
and thank you for
the video.
compromising your time, guys. Thanks for sharing the live. Please continue to share, and thank you so much for the likes. We really appreciate it. Um, Dr. TC, thanks for making time. You didn't tell me you have flu, but I'm glad you didn't, because you're emotionally intelligent. Sorry that you're compromising a bit of your health to join the live for the bigger mission. Thank you for that. Thanks for making time, and we'll try to keep it short so that you can rest your throat, because you need to rest it and get something warm and get some medication. So today we're discussing
Yeah.
emotional intelligence
Well,
versus intellectual intelligence. What is the difference, Dr. TC, between the two? And which one is bigger than the other one?
it's in the emotion.
Or, yeah, Dr. TC?
I wouldn't say there's one. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I wouldn't say there's one bigger than the other. I think they are all equally important. Just like
Yeah,
the members of the body, the hand cannot say,
yeah.
I take everything. When I use stomach, you just sit there, they feed you food. I mean, they are all equally important.
Yeah.
So I would say we have to nurture all of them equally. Oh, sorry
Yeah.
to blow my nose. Yeah.
Yeah, guys, that's what happens when you have flu. I'm sure everybody can relate. Dr. TC has a little bit of flu,
Yeah.
and she's gonna see through to honor her appointment. Thanks for that.
Yes.
Yeah, I hear what you are
You're
saying. You are
welcome.
saying none is bigger than the other one. They are equally important for different roles or for different relevance. Basically, that's what you are saying.
Yes.
And I think the biggest question that on average somebody will easily say, I mean, some people that you assume they are well educated,
Hmm.
but they behave in a certain way where you think, oh, I thought because you're educated, you wouldn't behave like that because or because I thought you're educated, you wouldn't talk like that. So I guess that's the thing, that sometimes we want to know the difference. Okay, so does it mean education doesn't help sometimes? But in actual fact, like you're saying, it's not that it doesn't help. There's just another aspect of
Yes,
intelligence that is necessary for
yeah,
that.
that needs to
That's
be
what you're
nurtured
saying.
as well. Yes. You still need to go to school.
Yeah,
You'll find people who are
yeah,
smart, who are not educated, but are smarter and process things much better than somebody who's educated. And
yeah,
then I
true.
think you find the educated will come with the arrogance of saying, "Oh well, I have a bachelor in this, so you can't tell me
Yeah,
anything." I mean, I would
yeah,
say spiritual intelligence is coming in as a young doctor in a clinic
yeah,
or a hospital. You're finding old assistants who've been there, and when they help you with a certain procedure, and then you be like, "Are you a doctor, or you just a nurse or an assistant for the past how many years?" I'm the
yeah,
doctor.
mm,
Because the spiritual intelligence would be saying, listen to any and every advice that you take, that somebody is
yeah,
giving you as well.
yeah,
The old, the young, I mean,
mm-hmm,
take advice, listen.
yeah,
I mean, that's
yeah,
why we're given 2 ears. Just listen.
yeah,
So I would say that spiritual intelligence is all about that,
mm-hmm,
synchronizing and processing the whole things that are happening in your life, in your business, in I mean, in things in general, in the world as
yeah.
well.
Yeah, I also did a little bit of research just to remind myself just 30 minutes ago, in terms of scientifically how this is described. So the brain has two parts of processing information under general. There is the intellectual part versus the emotional part, or we can even say the left brain versus the right brain. We can also say the cognitive versus the non-cognitive function. So the brain has to use both to be able to process information and allow us to do whatever that needs to be done,
Mm,
because the whole time as we are alive there's always information. Just that we take up information through our senses. Obviously it's our eyes, it's our ears, it's our taste buds, is the feeling on the skin, is the smell. So we use those different
mm,
senses to pick up information, and once we pick up the information we have to be able to process that information and give it a meaning. So on average,
mhm,
intellectual intelligence, or more of left-sided side of the brain, or more of cognitive intelligence, has to do a lot with things that you are taught at school, like 1 plus 1 is 2. If you mix
mm,
hydrogen, two hydrogen ions, and one oxygen, it makes water. So those are intellectual things. They don't really need basically your emotions. It's just facts that you take in, you process, and you know, okay, this is what it is. Okay, fine. And for obvious
yeah.
reasons, just with intellectual intelligence or cognitive functioning that is established, yes, of course, you get your qualifications, you can get a good job, a good title, and all of that. And then there is the other side of the brain, which is
Mm,
more the right side of the brain, or the emotional intellect part of the brain, or the non-cognitive part of the brain. So now that part of the brain, that is the parts that process emotions. So after you process
mm,
the facts and how things work, or how things how you interpret things, that your environment basically. So the emotional part gives
mm,
meaning to what you have
mm,
processed, basically, that you're able to quantify. But then the emotion now, it comes from the right side of the brain to give meaning to what you've just processed. So now that part, I think the key thing about that is
mm,
emotional intelligence is something that actually needs to be developed all the way from when we are all babies, because emotional intelligence, which is the non-cognitive skills of our being, meaning the emotions, being able to have like self-control, being able to be compassionate, being understanding, being able to take correction, all those things. So most of us miss the point, and
Mm.
we assume that we can study emotional intelligence. Of course, if emotional intelligence or the non-cognitive skills are not developed in childhood, which they're supposed to be developed in childhood, assuming the parents are present and assuming the
Yeah.
parents are capable, it makes it easy for you in the future it would look like you're just emotionally intelligent under general or naturally, but it's not actually natural. It was developed from childhood. But of course, if it was not developed,
Mm.
we always have a chance in our adult life to work on ourselves. It's just that it's going to be harder.
Yeah, you must have the desire to have it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if you're going
So
to be
if you
arrogant
didn't
about
have
it,
it,
then
yes. So if you didn't have it, if it wasn't developed, and you realize that it's costing you,
mm,
because you'll notice that in the essence that you struggle with relationships. You can't be professional at work. No one likes you. You can't communicate. You are not able to compromise. You are not able
it's a
to motivate. You are not able to work in a team. So that is the sign
mm,
that one can pick up that, you know what, probably I'm not emotionally intelligent. And
yeah,
it's not a bad thing if you are not. It's bad when you are not emotionally intelligent, but you act like you are, or you deny yourself the opportunity to develop that part of your brain. I think that's what you're saying
yeah.
now, that basically you must be willing to do
You
something
must be
about
willing.
it.
Yes. And I'm really appreciative of the MBA program because they push you toward, I mean, the working together and listening to other people. Because
Yeah.
when you go there, there's, I
Mm,
mean, all successful people, okay, for an example, for me, I was the only person from healthcare and Wes oral healthcare. The rest
yeah.
is BCom, accountant, CEO of companies, um I mean big people who are talking about these big salaries, and you're in your own private practice and you're thinking, oh my God, I don't even make that
Mm,
a year.
yeah.
But at the same time, you're in the group, and then you learn so much from them as well, because
Yeah.
you have the desire to learn. Now you are put in an
Mhm.
environment whereby even the program that is designed, it assists you to grow your emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
So now, with the emotional intelligence or the wisdom that you've learned from all these people, then comes the spiritual intelligence. How
Yes.
to combine the two as well. Because I really feel that the spiritual intelligence is just there in the middle. It just brings these two together.
Yeah.
And
It
then,
integrates the two. It's a
yes,
fact.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
And then
So
now,
mhm,
if you don't have the desire for emotional intelligence, it becomes a bit difficult for your spiritual intelligence to grow or even develop.
yeah. Um, what you're saying is true in the sense that scientifically, actually, spiritual intelligence. So now, just to give a bit of background for someone who needs a bit of background of physiology and a bit of neuroscience and all of that, psychology, is that
Yeah.
from what I was saying, that the brain has two centers of control, so to speak. So they,
Yes.
let's wait for the blow.
Yeah, sorry, guys. Sorry, guys.
Okay, so
Mhm.
what we're saying is that, the brain has two centers of function. They actually
Mm,
both need to be developed. The
mhm,
IQ, anyone who is taken to school will develop the IQ, the intellectual
mm,
intelligence. The emotional
mm,
intelligence, that one is something that should be developed by parents from childhood. how
mhm,
how does a parent develop emotional intelligence in their child, and especially the first 7 years of life? Those are the most critical years, because anything else beyond 7 years, yes, you can still do something, but most of the development has already happened in the first 7 years. So for those that are new parents or who are going to be parents, if you still have the opportunity to parent your child is still under 7 years, don't miss that opportunity. Because if you invest in making sure that your child is emotionally trained, emotionally intelligently trained, what it means is that when they are older, they won't struggle with it. It won't be an extra module for them because already you have assisted them with the tools that they actually need to engage with life. Because if you do
Yeah.
not do that, whether because you didn't know, most likely you didn't know, your child has to use extra resources just to develop that after they actually struggle in relationships with life and with people under general. So now how you develop that in a child is simple things like allow the child to hear a yes and allow the child to hear a no. Most parents are scared
Mm.
to say no, while others only say no. You don't want extremes of yeses or extremes of no. You want to teach the child a balanced
A
perspective.
balance. Yeah.
There's a part in the brain
Mm.
that needs that. It's a reward system in the brain that is directly connected to more of the emotional intelligence. That now, if you develop that part of the
Mm.
brain, you also reduce the chances of your child having problems with addiction in the future and mental health problems in the future, which is the biggest problem that we have now. And most people don't understand why there are so many mental health problems, but at the same time people don't understand where they come from. So mental health is not a new thing. It's not a fashionable thing that people just have mental health problems now, or people are just ready to kill themselves now. The history is actually from their childhood. So now if a child's reward system in the brain was not developed during their childhood, when they get to teenagehood, especially around teenagehood, they start becoming conscious of that, and now they want affirmation, but they cannot get it anywhere else. They don't know how to
Mm.
get internally rewarded by that emotionally intelligent part of the brain. Or, hi, good evening, everyone. That is the cute Michelle. And TikTok Mpo was saying, wow, powerful. Okay, thanks. Hello, everyone. Um, so now,
Alright. Keep going.
so now, the reason there's actually a lot of mental health problems, which includes the suicide, the addictions, addiction to alcohol, addiction to sex, um, confusion about sexual orientation, which people now, there's a lot of us who don't understand how that
Addiction
works.
to food.
Sorry, Dr. TC?
Addiction to food. And you
Yes,
say
yes.
addiction
So
to
people,
food. And you're like, no, I'm
yes,
just a food. I'm a food.
I'm a foodie. Yeah. So any form of
You're trying
addiction
to numb
actually.
something.
Yes. Pascal says, loving the topic. Thanks for the heads up, Pascal. So anything that has more of an addictive behavior in our teenagehood, adulthood, and all of that is just a reflection of what happened in our childhood. So you can imagine how many people are actually aware of the impact of raising kids well and being present and teaching them a balanced perspective, especially in the first 7 years of their lives. That information is not information that everybody has. Some people are aware of this. So that's why Dr. TCU is saying some people didn't go to
Mm.
school, but they have a level of emotional intelligence. So now the reason for that is those people most likely use the basic rules and principles of life from the Bible, because the Bible
Mm.
tells you what science is telling you. The Bible says, raise the child in a certain way so that when they are older, they will not depart from them. So now, when you raise the child in a certain way of giving them order, give your child order and don't feel bad about giving your child order. 1970 King says this topic is informational. Thank you, Doc. So now, when you get to a point where you say, I'm not going to apologize and compromise on giving my child order in a healthy way, you will thank yourself later.
Mm.
Because remember, this whole democracy thing fooled everyone. So people assumed that democracy means don't give children order, let kids decide. What do they want? What do they feel like? Let them be. But who do you know, or what system works where there's lawlessness? It's impossible. Nothing will work. So now the Bible gives clear instructions about how we should raise
Mm.
kids. And guess what?
Mm.
Democracy can never override the Bible or the word or the originator of all of life. So that's why
Mm.
even if somebody doesn't go to school, but they applied the basic principles of giving their children order, that
Mm.
when you're sending your child to go and get you water, you don't want it to be debating that, oh, water, but you just send me now. Oh, but I'm still watching this. And now most of us are entertaining our kids going to those type of friends. And to a point that
Mm.
sometimes like, oh, but they're so cute. Did you hear what she said? And then you don't realize that this very child that you're not giving order now, they're going to struggle in real life, because real life needs
Mm.
those non-cognitive skills developed. That emotional intellect, it needs to be developed, and it can only literally be developed by the parent. So now when parents move from their base and allow anybody else except for them, what it means is their children get into the future and they don't have an internal reward system. So now automatically they must start finding it outside. Now part of you know, somebody who is supposedly supposed to be intelligent, doing well, but they struggle in real life is, yes, their intellectual
Mm.
intelligence is developed, but they're totally not emotionally developed. So now they get there, they're totally arrogant, but they're clueless. Because even the same Bible says, take advice, take advice. The wise, they're always willing to learn.
Yeah.
The wise are always
The
willing
one.
to adapt.
Yeah. Yeah. Older women teach the young women how to do
Yeah,
things. It always talks
yes,
about searching godly advice.
yeah,
I mean, and then it becomes a challenge then for children who are not raised by their parents.
yes,
Mm. And then, I mean, in the Africa, I'll talk about Africans because that's what I incline more towards. We have this system that people look down on, whereby when parents are not there, whether because of death or other decisions that they made in life, then the grandmother takes over, or the uncles take over, or the aunties take over.
yes, yeah,
And I'm really grateful for that. That is part of emotional and spiritual intelligence, that you need
yeah,
to take care of the other people. Yes.
yeah,
And then you'll find that now that you have this intellectual intelligence and emotional intelligence, and then the spiritual intelligence will be what we are all about now, finding your purpose, who you are. I mean, you see it's most of the time on social media, people saying it's a solo trip, take time alone, meditate, hear yourself, the inner voice. I would say for me that is the spiritual intelligence, whereby now you are now intelligent, you studied, you're fine, and then your emotional intelligence is up to par. So now you're searching for self.
mm, yeah,
You want that balance. I mean, what are
yeah,
my goals in life? What do I want? I mean, and then that's what it is. Because now, let's say you're a doctor, emotional intelligence, intellectual intelligence, and then emotional intelligence. I mean, the way you speak to your patients, you listen to your supervisors, and everything. But then now, are you supposed to be in the private practice, or are you supposed to be in a hospital? What are you supposed to do with this degree that you have? I mean, this is a
yeah,
sense of purpose.
yeah.
Are you supposed to be here at the
Dr.
hospital or in
T,
private practice, or are you supposed to be there and just doing the NGOs?
yeah. Dr. T, can I just interrupt? I just want to read the comment. The
So
cute
I'd say
Michelle.
that is the highest perspective of life, being in tune with
Yes,
oneself.
yes. Sorry, Doctor, I disturbed you. I just want to read the comment from the cute Michelle. She's saying, yes, the law is laid down when they are very young. So true. Don't allow rotten seeds to take root. She's just giving her opinion about what we say we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
that's true.
we yeah. So somebody's asking a question. Is it possible that one can possess all three, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual intelligence? Of course, yes. Of course, yes. That is from 1970 King. So from
Yeah,
a
no,
physiological,
absolutely.
yeah. So from a physiological point of view, actually we've got we've got two centers of control again that are totally that we need to be in cognizance of. So the brain has that, whether we call it the left and the right side, or like we're saying cognitive and non-cognitive, intellectual versus emotional intellect. So now these resources can be managed by either two. two centers. Um, the one center is the ego. So the ego
Mm-hmm.
can use our intellect, our intellectual intellect, and our emotional intellect. So the ego can be in control of those intelligences, or the spiritual, the spirit, the soul can be the one that utilizes your intellect, those two intellects, meaning your intellectual and your emotional. So that's why I'm saying, I always say this, there is nothing that science can talk about today that is scientifically proven to work or to be true that is not in the Bible. In the Bible, that's when we always refer to Apostle Paul, where he says, I'm always in conflict. The spirit and my physical being are always in conflict of each other. What that means
Mm-hmm.
is the ego and the soul, spirit, they're always fighting for control of these centers.
Mm-hmm.
So now what it means is when you become more heightened, um, what it means is you allow the spirit to take over and use the resources, your physical resources, for greater good of the universe, greater good of everyone. So you don't come from a place of lack. The opposite is true. When the ego is in charge, it still use
Mm.
your intellect, those two intellects,
Intellect.
the IQ
True.
and the EQ, but it uses it for self-preservation. Remember, the ego is very scared, and because the ego is scared, and the worst thing for the ego is death, physical death,
Mm-hmm.
because it only exists in our physicalness. So the ego will always do anything to preserve itself. So that's why the selfishness, so that it can defend itself. So basically,
Mm-hmm.
when you become more and more heightened, you tap, you basically, because remember, the Bible always says, even Jesus says, I will never force you to follow me. I will knock, but I need you to open. So that one has to be
Yeah.
willingness for you to connect with your spirit being, spiritual intelligence to take over and use the resources for good of all. While if you don't let it be, because it's already there, is the fullness of God, is the full glory of God. There's no lack there, there's no
Mm.
fear there. So that's why somebody who is
Yeah.
developed in that area, they tend to, they're more secure, they're not competitive,
Yeah.
they're willing for let's all win, it's okay. They can
That's true.
compliment
Yeah,
others
it's called
without
size
feeling like,
itself.
yes. So somebody like that is okay giving a
Yeah.
compliment to somebody. But the one who is under the leadership of the ego, the self, the physical being, they will never do or give or say anything that will make somebody feel good, somebody to feel powerful, or create an opportunity that somebody will be noticed or somebody will progress, because they are scared that if they see her or him, then they won't see me anymore. So that's how you know, because even if somebody has a certain qualification or
Yeah.
somebody's a
And then
celebrity, but you're
if they see
surprised,
you, it's all about
why the
confidence.
insecurity? Yes. Why the insecurity? You're supposed to be confident because you have what people want. You've got, but usually it's the resources, physical resources like money, the qualifications, the connections. But that's where we know for sure that those things are not enough if you're under the leadership of the ego.
Yeah.
The ego is totally fearful and it will make you do things that eventually they're so embarrassing when you think about them in the future, when people are looking at you and people admire you. But eventually, some people notice that, but you are actually insecure. We thought because you have one, two, three, should be in a good
Mm.
place, but you are not willing to share. You
Mm.
don't want other people to progress.
Mm.
You want to, I mean, it's those people who will
Yeah.
spy on people, they will report people, they will make sure people get into trouble, they'll make sure that they remind you, it's like somebody will compliment, oh, I love the dress on you. Yo, but the calves, you've gained the calves, ne? So it's like somebody's giving you a compliment and and they bang you at the same
At the
time.
same time,
It's
they
like,
want to
oh,
especially, yeah,
yeah. So now
you've
that's where you
gained.
know the ego is
So,
under
so it feels
control.
like they wanted to tell you that you gained weight, but they have
Yes,
to come as if they're just complimenting the dress. That's
yes.
annoying. I don't know lie.
Yeah, it happened. Or somebody's
Yeah.
like, oh, nice car. Oh, but I guess you're in debt. Like, okay. So people have a way of, they
Yeah.
compliment you, but with the same token, with the compliment, that they pinch you. Then you know that person,
Mm.
unfortunately, they are not in line with their spiritual intelligence is not in control. So the spiritual intelligence is the highest form of being, of intelligence. They call it spiritual intelligence, but in actual fact is the wisdom that only comes from God, because it's only God who can allow
Okay.
you to experience that channel, because it's a channel that you need to go through to open up
Mm.
a whole new world that you never even thought existed, a world where
Mm.
everything is enough, a world where you believe in justice, a world where you know
Mm.
that even if somebody's progressing, it doesn't mean I'm not going to progress. It just means it's their time and it's
Mhm.
okay. My time is coming. I must keep
Care for
going.
them.
I must be willing to ask for help. I must help others. Things won't be finished. You know, Acute
Care for
Michelle says,
them. Ask how they made it. Ask for help from them how they made it.
yeah, yeah. Because, like you're saying, just talking about 1970, King says, nice dress, but if it had
Sorry, I'm
pockets,
reading the
it would
comments.
have been. Sorry,
Dude,
Dr. Titi?
no, I'm reading the comments as well. I'm laughing at this.
Dude,
The one
they're
you're
so
reading,
funny.
nice dress.
Yeah, nice dress, but if it
Even
had
at the pocket,
pockets,
it would have been more
it would
beautiful.
have been too beautiful. Exactly, people say that the whole time. And when you meet somebody like that, don't even
Yeah.
bother, but just know then where they are. Just understand quickly and
Oh, my
understand.
friend has the same dress, but
Yeah.
oh, wow.
So that it's sad. It's actually sad when somebody's in that space, because they're coming from a place of insecurity. They feel like if they crush you, then they go up,
True.
or if they keep you down, they remain up. But when
Yeah,
you allow
true.
your spirit to
But
take over, even whether in the workplace, whether with friends, with
yeah,
family, because this thing is everywhere. You are the same person everywhere. So now, if you really want to know if somebody is under the
yeah,
control of ego or the spirit, you basically see the intention. Is the intention for greater good of everyone, or the intention is always about preserving
mm,
themselves? So now they have to look good, whether by making you feel bad or by making themselves feel so good. Because for somebody who is wise, they're not concerned about putting themselves up there, because they're confident and they're comfortable with themselves, and they trust that
mm,
there's more than enough of everything. There's no need to
mm,
compete. And
mm,
you don't feel bad, because I mean, some people, you'll ask them for help, they don't want to help you, because they believe in their minds, if they help you, it's going to cost them. So that's a low
yeah,
type of thinking. But what you need to understand in that situation is, first of all, you have to realize that this person's internal reward system was not developed in their childhood. And if they're
mm,
already adults, obviously, it means as we speak now, they're still, is other than, well, they're not conscious, they have not committed to working on it and improving on themselves by asking for help,
mm,
submitting to a process of being guided, um,
mm,
reading through books, because even books do help. 1970 King say other people's sorrows are people's happiness. It's sad state of mind. Absolutely, it's very sad. Leshileba,
yeah.
it's lots of hearts. Thanks for the
It
love.
means you're really,
Moradi.
yeah,
Um,
obviously, if other people's sorrows are your happiness, it means you are not connected to your spiritual higher self.
no, you're not.
Because the spiritual higher self will not embrace when somebody falls, even your neighbor. I mean, the Bible says, love your neighbor. So now your neighbor is falling.
Hmm.
How are you laughing? How are you happy? Because you're supposed to pick them up, give them a hand.
Yeah, yeah,
So really, spiritual intelligence is most let me say it's the rules in the Bible.
yes,
It's
basically.
the fruit of the
That's the
spirit:
wisdom.
love, peace, joy, patience, kindness, fruitfulness, gentleness, self-control. All of those.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're saying, because sometimes people will ask, how does one become wise? Where does wisdom come from? And how do you know somebody's wise? So like you're saying, you summarize it so well in terms of practically speaking, to be able to identify if
Mm,
somebody's wise or not, if somebody is in sync
mm,
with their spirit, if somebody is under the rulership of the spirit, You see by the fruits of the Spirit. That's how you know that somebody is under
That's
the rulership of the Spirit. So now, in terms
mm,
of the workspace, obviously you wouldn't use such words, but it's going to be more of somebody who is a team player, a
mm-hmm.
leader who has good intentions for their team. Because
Mm,
sometimes you've got leaders that they want to crush even their subordinates. Any
mm.
opportunity they crush their subordinates.
They're not
So
patient
in
with
that
them.
case, yeah,
They're
yeah,
not
they
kind
just crush
towards
you.
the.
They can't
I
encourage
mean,
you.
they don't. They're not faithful in helping the other person. They don't have the self control in taming their tongue when they're supposed to bash the other person. They
Yeah,
don't even ask themselves, whatever I'm gonna say, is it gonna be, how is it gonna hurt the other person? Because
yeah,
whatever you
yeah,
say, create, whatever you plant to this person, how is it gonna be? How is it gonna germinate? Is it a good seed or not? I mean, that is part
yeah,
of the self control. Control the way
yeah.
you with the things you say, the way you behave towards. Some people don't have to say things. Their demeanor, the way, the facial expression, the way they act towards you is absolutely appalling.
Mm-hmm,
So have the control, control yourself in the way you present yourself, whether to your
mm-hmm.
colleagues or people under you or people upper than you in life. Have, I mean, have patience. I mean, have peace within yourself.
Yeah,
I mean, you can pray, ask God to meditate to help you to really be peaceful and mindful of the people that you work with and or you study with, or if you're still a student, I mean, just try a lot. Um, yeah, be the leader, the
be
good leader.
intentional. Be
Be
intentional.
intentional.
So
Yes.
yeah. So Mpo 366 says, wow, and Napo Gadi Dim says it's happening a lot in the workplace. Yeah, it actually happens. I would say it probably happens everywhere because you also have relatives who are rude. You've got in-laws that can be
Yes,
rude. You have
that's true. However, with the
yeah,
workplace, we see it more because with the relatives, for an example, we'll
yeah,
start with your siblings or your parents. If you have a parent who's not kind towards you or feeling like
mm,
you are the failure in their lives, the
mm,
way they behave towards you obviously is not be a good way. However,
yeah,
because you have so much love for them, you'd want to hide it, or you'd be like, no, man, she didn't mean that, or he didn't mean that.
yeah,
With your
yeah,
siblings as well, you always have a way of trying to cover for them, like, no, but she's my sister, or that's my cousin. They won't do such a thing.
yeah,
It's just that it's more illuminated in the workplace because you are not related in any manner with these people.
yeah. I hear you.
So it's easier to
To
pinpoint
identify
things.
it. Yeah,
Yes. But
yeah. I
however,
think
it starts with with the family. So the spirit already knows that this is a bad behavior. So when somebody out of your close circle does it, then because the spirit already knows this is abuse. This is not the way somebody's supposed to talk to me or treat me or do things to me. When somebody else does it, immediately your spirit says this is bad, and then you
yeah,
pinpoint it. So that's why I
mm,
would say mostly at work, but however, it starts with your close family, friends, I mean relatives. You need
yeah,
to really be aware of such, and sometimes if it needs for you to remove yourself from the equation, then you do that. I mean, you can be distant to family members who are like that. Unfortunately, at work you can't, but at home you have a choice. Just be more as
mhm.
distant as possible.
Well, assuming you're an adult, because if you're still young, you're
Yes.
stuck in the family. Because still need to eat and
Unfortunately, at that time, yeah.
yeah. No, it's true. I think your analogy makes a lot of sense because you are saying the reason we identified more in the workplace compared to at home is because at home we want to protect our family members. We don't want to believe that actually my own mother, my own father, my own sister, my own brother is actually jealous and being mean to me. So you want to justify it in
Yeah.
another way that is acceptable because by nature we want relationships and families are the ones the closest relationships that we want, that we crave for. So that's why most of us will go through this thing because we don't want to lose the relationship. even though sometimes you see that, okay, this is not working out, but you're like, okay, but what am I
Yeah.
gonna do with my family? But then again, like you're saying, if family is doing that to you, at some point you have to, boundaries are important, whether in the workplace or in the family or with your friends, or if, even with your partner. If it gets to a point that you see that I am being mistreated here, you can, because remember, you cannot change another person, but you'll have to create a boundary for yourself so that you can continue being able to continue to live. um Raboni
Cool.
says, the
It would.
coach, good evening, Raboni. So what you're saying is a good reflection, because it's always so difficult to confront family, especially family, and also spouses, our partners, because those are the relationship that we don't want to lose the most. Okay, so the cute Michelle
Yeah.
says, especially if the jealousy is instigated by a parent, then you have to move out of that space. Yeah, I think the quick Michelle is saying what you're saying, Dr. TC, that basically at some point you'll have to create a boundary. Leshilba says, powerful words indeed, Dr. Bibi and Dr. Tembega. Thanks. Guys, thanks for
You.
the love. Thank you for the likes. Jeff DeBeer, thank you so much for the love. So many likes. Thank you for the likes. 1917 King says, 1970 King says, the cute Michelle, I moved out of that space too. So this is a real thing, hey? Where you get to a point where even your family, you just
It
say, no,
is.
that's it. I can't anymore, because you lose yourself, and you lose your confidence so much, especially when you're being
Yes. And
crushed
talking about
in a
boundaries.
place of love.
Yeah, that's true. And about the boundaries as well, that is part of the spiritual awakening, that actually I need to have boundaries, even for my own self, for my family as well. I need to have boundaries. I mean, they cannot just take my okay. The black community always want to make you naked. Oh, this is beautiful. Can I have it? They cannot always have everything that you're wearing. I mean, that's where it starts. So
Yeah,
you have to start with those, I mean, boundaries. Set boundaries for yourself, and be content with the situation, and also be aware. You being aware that your family is actually not good towards you is a first step, and obviously that is your spiritual awakening.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess is the whole battle of life, because Apostle Paul put it so well that there's always this conflict between, because remember in that case where you feel like you're stuck, it's because the ego is scared to be without family, because remember the ego is scared. The ego is scared to being without family, but your spirit
Mhm.
says, but I'm God. You have me, and I live in you. Don't be scared. I'm the one who gave you life, and I will sustain you. And now,
You are
because
never alone.
yes, because the spirit will not fight and compete with the ego. The ego grabs. The ego is always fighting and grabbing. It doesn't want to share. It
Mm.
grabs, but this, for the spirit, it has to be a conscious decision that you make, that you're gonna allow yourself to connect to your spirit, because the spirit is there. You don't even have to do anything to it. It's just
Yeah.
you say you must give yourself permission to let the
Yes.
spirit of God reign, because it's already there. Leshiliba says, my late husband used to say, put yourself first all the time. Yeah, sometimes you'll meet somebody along the way that will help you with those boundaries, because you might find it hard for you to do it if you've never done it before. But you might be blessed to find this lesson from somebody that you meet along the way that will give you the courage to say, that's it. I'm going to start loving myself, and I'm going to trust what God
Yeah, I'm gonna
says about
that's a
me.
when I take
Yeah. The cute Michelle says, thank you for this
yeah.
live. I needed this. No, thank you so much. That is meaningful
Oh,
to someone. Yeah, that means a lot. I think all of us, for different reasons and different stages of our lives, we need different things. And that's what we say now, part of this so-called spiritual intelligence. That's what they call it in the scientific world, in the intellectual world.
mm.
But in the Bible, that is wisdom. That is something that you ask from God, because God says, I give it to you freely, and only I can give that to
You
you.
ask for it. Mm.
So now
And he
you
also
just,
says you must ask for it. So
yeah, he just says, ask
ask,
me. I will.
yes.
I'm the one who blesses you with wisdom, because it's the worst thing to go through life being scared. people making you feel inadequate, people making you feel like you lack something, people making you feel like if you change this, maybe you'll be better, nyana. No, if you had this, maybe we'll like you more. That is the
And
worst
God
place to
says
be
so
at.
many
So,
times in the Bible that do not fear.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then the other thing that leadership should remember is that putting yourself first in the community, we're told that putting yourself first is being selfish. I mean,
yes,
and they label
yeah,
being selfish as being a wrong thing.
yeah,
And that is putting boundaries. They'll
yeah,
tell you are being selfish because they want you to violate your own boundaries and to
yeah,
completely
yeah,
violate you
mm,
by saying, why you jailer? Why you closing yourself? I mean, you won't know when you need other people. You need to be nice to other people. While at that time they're abusing you,
yeah,
and then they use those reverse psychology like
yeah.
that you need other people. I mean, you need to put other people first, not you. Be
That's it.
humble, and
Sikhulisile wena.
that's not what the
Sikhulisile
Bible
manje.
says
Yeah,
about
but
being humble.
they will say
Huh?
sikhulisile wena manje udokotela sewazi kakhulu manje wena. KaSizulu akere they will say that.
I mean, such things. Yeah, I mean, such things. Like, we know you were in Naples, and now that you're a doctor, I mean, who do you think you are? Such things. But you need to really put yourself first. You need to protect yourself, protect your space, protect your mind, protect your peace at all cost. God says in the Bible so many times, do not be afraid, and they'll try to put fear as much as possible in your life.
Yeah.
And then God says in the Bible that whoever seeks wisdom can ask me, and I'll freely give.
Mm, yeah. And we also have to keep in mind that even the religious leaders and all the scammers, they play on the ego because they know the ego is greedy, the ego is scared. So that's why, from the religious perspective, I mean, the religious leaders will tell you that if you don't do one, two, three, you're going to die. You're going to burn in hell. Something will happen to your family, bad luck. Even the cultural people,
I mean,
the cultural leaders now, they're also threatening people with their security because they understand the psychology of the ego, that the ego is scared of death, the ego is scared of losing. So now that's where they play the most on the ego. Okay, so Napo Khadi says, so true. The cute Michelle says, and that on its own is abuse, yes.
mm,
1917 King says, people want to always belittle others. I refuse to allow such negativities in my space. That is so true. I think
yeah,
the other thing that we must differentiate is there's a difference between selfishness and boundary setting. So now people tend to
mm,
want to just let them overlap, but they can't overlap. You can have
mm,
boundaries and still be able to help other people because you're helping them from a good place. It's not out of manipulation. Now, when people want to manipulate you so that you don't have boundaries, so that you can give them what they want from you, and then they keep reminding
mm,
you what they've done for you or what will go wrong in your life if you don't help them, then you're helping them from
mm.
a wrong place. So now what it means is that thing will not,
And
even
can
the
you
help that you're
boundaries?
doing, it doesn't fulfill you. You feel bad all the time because you are dealing with thugs. Those are thugs, people that want to um, abuse,
Yes,
your kindness, your goodness. Because when you help somebody, it must come from a good place. And when you want to be
yeah,
helped, there's
true.
all of us need help at any point. You ask for it. And if somebody says, I can't help you, don't now start threatening them because it means you never came from a good place in the first place. When
Yeah,
when people I mean, selfishness means you're not willing to help anyone. You will never share anything. You'll make sure that people are drowned. That's
yeah,
totally different. So now, on average, most people are not that selfish, but selfish people are managing their emotions because
yeah,
you have not protected yourself by giving your brain to your spiritual intellect. So now your brain is basically being managed
yeah,
by the ego. Then you are just under thuggery
mm,
the whole time. Kid Michelle is laughing that they're real thugs. Yeah, especially using their power over you. 1917 King says her car is beautiful, but she
mm,
shouldn't. She should have painted the house. Yeah, that's a very common one. What if I don't want to paint the house?
mm.
Like, yeah, because people say that, oh, you're busy buying cars. You haven't built a house for your mother. or you are busy buying a
Yeah.
car.
That's
Kamo
why,
you haven't bought furniture. Good, people always will have
yeah.
that, but that's where you know it's not coming from a good
Yeah.
place.
That's why you have to be spiritually awakened as well. When people say those things, and then you can always say that, no, actually, these are my priorities, because people want to violate your priorities as well. And then,
Yeah,
I mean, family has this thing of saying, you are my only hope. If I
yeah,
don't get this, that means my life is over. I hate that line. And
yeah.
families use it the most,
Manipulation.
saying that they are their only hope. Meaning
Yeah,
now you have to violate your own, let's say they want money for an example, because it's always about the money. Now your budget is already at the point that it is, and then now you have to violate your own rules and the boundaries you've made about money. I mean, if you are giving, already given the amount that you've set aside for giving, and then now come with an ultimatum that if you don't help me, if I die, it's on your hand. I mean,
mm,
that is abuse as well.
yeah, of course.
uh okay, dog says 7.
The fifth Michelle says, and we need to understand we can only give from a full cup.
Yeah.
So I don't allow manipulation anymore. And that comes with age and life experience where you get to a point where you say, I can't do this anymore. I've tried it. Because you'll notice that when people are selfish, even if you do things for them, it will never be enough. Never, 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 never. And most of them don't even say
Mm.
thank you. They even tell you that you didn't give them enough. They will even tell you that you didn't give them enough. And then whenever do you think they should get what they want? And you want God to bless
Yeah.
you, but you're not taking care of this. Remember, helping family is actually honorable, even in the Bible. To take in Timothy, they talk about how honorable it is, to be able to take care of your family, not neglect your family. It's a good thing and it's important to make sure that you help your family.
Yeah.
Make
True.
sure that the family has the basics. The problem comes
Yeah.
in when
Bible
the
also even
family,
goes further that if you don't help the family, you're a
yeah,
sinner.
yeah. So now, if the family is coming
But
from a
now
good
the way
place,
that
they
they
will,
go about it, then
yeah. If it's coming from a good place, what you help them with, they appreciate. But if it's coming from manipulation, it's yeah, the whole thing is just bad. I mean, even
mm,
with the in-laws, the mother and the sisters always want to put the demand on the son, the brother, that this is our brother. And kana go bona there is either they've made bad choices in their own lives, so now the brother must make up for that. And
mm,
yeah, it comes in so many, it's such a draining thing. But I guess eventually the important thing is just to have boundaries and develop yourself, seek the wisdom, seek that place where God can, where you can hear from God, because God is talking all the time. So you have to give yourself permission to connect to your spirit so that the spirit will take over, so that you'll stop living in fear.
mm,
To a point that, I mean, when the spirit has taken over, when people manipulate you, you get to a point where you say, I'll rather die. I will rather die than
mm,
worship somebody else and die while trying to worship this person by keeping on paying. I keep on paying. And when I don't pay, so the best thing, you'll rather be right with God, because God is in charge of everything and everyone. No one has that power that they're always claiming that they have
yeah,
over you. Even
yeah,
the bosses at work, but in the
they
in
have
the
over you.
workplace,
I mean, I do understand.
Dr. TC, can go ahead.
No, I was saying, helping the family was never black tax. It was you helping the family. But
Yeah,
the way people have abused it, we even have to come up with the name saying it's black tax. It's never
yeah,
tax. It's
mm,
you helping your family, and it's part of the
yeah.
biblical principles that you have
Mhm.
to follow.
Yeah. So now once it's a demand, now I'm sure what is called black tax, once it's a demand, God is
Mm.
almost like they want the ratio of
Yes.
what that you're making. They want that thing, that money
Yeah.
better come or else. And gonna go, you're a full adult. Ishba says,
Mm.
"Aba kgotsofale at all." No, it's true. Kana go, you're a full
Yeah.
adult, you are being conducted like you're a teenager, you are given rules, and you are the one who's doing the work. You have to wake up in the morning, work, do your best, hit targets, get bonuses, make sure you get paid, make sure. And then Bona, they just say, no, this is what we want now. This is what we want, and can you please get it by this time? So it's
And then you have
unfortunate
medical
when you
bills.
don't understand the difference, because that's where the
Mm-hmm.
abuse comes in.
Mm-hmm.
But again, at work, when your boss is the one who is doing that, the thing is, how do you handle that when your boss is that? Dr. TC,
That's
what
when
is
the
your
that's when
now?
the
This is
spiritual
yours.
stuff
Mm,
comes in, because yes, I am working for you.
mhm,
However, I'm not your slave.
mhm. But
So
now,
let's say for an example,
do you say that? Do you tell your boss that directly?
no. So for an example, you'll make an appointment, go to the office, and then obviously there are what's this, policies and guidelines on your job description.
Mm,
And then you can point that out, and then you just say, I would like to have some clarity in you stating this, or me or you demanding this. Where does it fit here? And then how do I supposed to respond to it? Just give them that clarity that, you know what, I understand that you want me to do this. I heard you say this. If they're using foul language, you can just request a meeting, and you go there and you say, I mean, it happens with the lectures. It happened to me with the lecture at varsity. I had to
mhm,
request a meeting with the lecture, and then I had to explain that honestly, I don't understand why you're treating me like this, because I was there, everybody was there, we all did the same procedure, and it's a correct procedure. Unless there's something personally that you have against me, and whatever it is, I apologize. That's what I said.
mm,
Whatever it is that you have against me, I apologize, because
mhm,
honestly, it was unfair. This, because I've done this right. I've done this right.
mhm. But I
And
guess you are saying in a way, because
mm-hmm,
in every situation where there's leadership involved, that's where we need spiritual intelligence or the wisdom. We have to seek advice from God so that you know how to approach that, because you also don't want to ruin the
yes,
relationship until you are ready to move or until a door
mm-hmm,
opens for you. I guess it will depend from situation to situation so that you know how to approach it. And also it depends on the severity of the so-called abuse or manipulation or all of that. Because I mean, if it's too extreme, you have to make a very abrupt decision. 1970 King
right.
says, my late mom used to take my salary and say all these things like she brought me up. It was draining. Yo, that is, I can't imagine.
So
I've never heard of that. 1970. They take your salary. Yeah, I can imagine.
I hope,
Phew.
hopefully, you're healing.
Sorry?
Hope, I'm saying hopefully, 1970 King is healing from that.
Yeah.
Um, because I mean that can be damaging.
Yo.
Your boundaries completely violated. It was a
Mm,
responsibility to raise you up, because she brought you on this earth. You didn't ask to be brought on this earth in the first place.
mm,
Um, I mean, there's a lot that is going on, and hopefully you're seeking therapy, and
yeah.
you're praying a lot about that. I
Yeah.
mean, because God can really guide you more
Mm,
than any other thing, and also help you to
yeah.
heal as well. Because that, with those boundaries like that being violated, that means, let's say you're getting married now, and then your wife or your husband says, yeah, I mean, I gave you, I did you a favor, married you, give me your whole salary, and then you'll be triggered because you haven't healed from what your mother has done.
Yeah, while you're saying that, Dr. TC, she says, my boss denies everything. He uses the divide and rule tactic, instigate my colleague against me. So I think from that, from what you're also saying, Dr. TC, and what 1970 King is saying is that, so you need to just get therapy, because we know that even our parents are human beings before they are our parents, meaning they make mistakes. They have their own traumas that you know nothing about.
Mm,
So now, the healing, okay, I heal through God. My daughter and I don't live like that. That is amazing. So you need to go through
oh,
the whole therapy so that it doesn't continue even at the workplace. So now, as you're saying at work, something not exactly but similar is happening. You just have to pray about it and ask God
mm,
to intervene on your behalf, because God will do that. You just keep doing what is right, what is just, what is universally
mm,
benefiting everybody who is involved. God will see through. There will be justice for you.
yes,
And because you are
true,
conscious about this,
true. And
you
I
will
think
be more present.
mm,
And but the thing about this also is
that's true.
now, because of the history that you have, just make sure that now you don't
Mm.
over supply your daughter,
Definitely.
because you're
Yeah.
making up for what you lacked.
Practical
So you
solution.
need to find a
Mm.
balance still, so that you're raising a balanced child who's intellectually developed, who's emotionally
Yeah.
developed, and so that they are in a good place for the spirit to be able to take over when they come into their consciousness. Because the spiritual intelligence or the wisdom comes in when we are grown up ourselves, because the parents also pull back by nature, because you're an adult, so you have to start making your own decisions.
Yeah.
If God was not
Yeah.
my side, I would have been a bad and angry person. Absolutely.
We thank
That's
God. We're
something.
so glad.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're so
So
glad.
that is important. Once you are aware of dysfunction, and it's important, you must be aware of dysfunction so that you can work on it by developing yourself, making sure you don't repeat it with your own child, because it's easy to repeat the same thing that was done to you. And the other thing, of course, is you can overcompensate for what was done to you. So you just want something
Mm.
in between that will be ideal according to God, so that you give yourself a chance. Fortunately, God gave me wisdom. She's even married and is independent. Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Then we thank God.
That's
We
amazing.
thank
Yeah,
God.
is
There's
it can
another
only
thing
be.
you can do as well
Yeah,
while healing. You can ask God to send godly people who are able to direct you. They can just say something or say a word, or while in a conversation, allow God to speak through people and have a willing heart to listen when it's God speaking through people. Because sometimes, for an example, like somebody was asking, how do you get wisdom? I mean, you ask God to willingly give you, and obviously God will not give you in a way that you think. He will use his own ways at his own time. So whether he's using a person, or you listen to radio, you listen to music, God
yeah,
will speak through their thing.
yeah,
Because anything God uses to speak to you.
yeah.
And then Ulendo, the cute Michelle said, man would
And the
tell
other
me that
question is, when do you
she
know
didn't plan
if
it.
it's God speaking to
The
how?
truth is, we all know. We have this thing
The
like
mother said
there
what?
was this thing, man. Okay, let me finish this. Let me answer this question, and then we'll talk about the cute. I'll read the cute Michelle. I mean, you always have this thing like there was this feeling and it felt right, and I followed it. This thing is the Holy Spirit. The thing that feels right. All right, you this voice, or I have this idea and it felt right down deep within me. That is God.
Mm, yeah.
That is God speaking.
And
So you'd know
practically,
even even when the pastor is preaching that this is God speaking through him or not, because your spirit would know.
yeah. And then practically speaking, how you also know is um, that advice or the word must not trigger fear in you, because God says
Mm,
um, he where there's fear, He's not there. So if somebody's talking to you, or advising you, or doing something with you, and you feel a little bit scared, that is not from God. Because when somebody is
mm,
talking, or when God is talking through someone, you will feel hopeful, you'll feel encouraged, your faith will be
mm,
strengthened. That's how you know this is from God. But once somebody talks to you and you feel scared and under pressure, that voice is not God's voice.
mm.
If the fruits of the Spirit are not awakened in that conversation or in that word, is not from God. That's how you know. Because sometimes it can be so confusing, because somebody who is supposed to be close to God in our minds says something, and you assume because of their so-called position, they should be
Yes,
saying the right thing. But there are people who are abusing their power. Remember, there are false
yes.
prophets and true prophets. So that
Mm,
happens everywhere. So anyone's
mm,
word to you that makes you feel scared, that makes you feel vulnerable, it's not from God. That's how you know. You walk away. You walk away, because when there's a word from God, it should awaken, the presence of God in your life, in the form of hope, in the form of
yes,
encouragement, in the form
that's
of
true.
joy. So these are the fruits of the Spirit. That's how you know.
Mm,
Dr.
mm.
TC, I think we should close.
Yeah, let's close.
And
Okay, let's just say, I mean, the cute Michelle said, man would tell me that she didn't plan me, so I disturbed many
sure,
of her plans. We're sorry about
imagine.
that. You're not the only one. There's one thing about social media. lately there has been, I think from last year, I've been seeing a lot of videos. It's either TikTok or also on Facebook, people talking about their parents, especially their mothers, and then that have been so bad towards them. I mean, came Mother's Day, some people were saying on TikTok, my mom is so toxic and she doesn't even deserve a happy
Sure.
Mother's Day to me. The things that have been
Sure.
said, they've been saying. So there is that, and I think God is just uprooting those things and putting them in out there so that people know that they are not alone. And there's a lot of people going through that. Um, it's
Yeah.
bad. It's really bad because at the end of the day, after they've said those things, they expect you to take care of them because you ruin their lives, you ruin their plans.
Sure. Sure.
Um, um, I mean, I've
Mm,
had that as well. That you ruined my life. I was not ready to have to be a mother, and
mm,
and it has been said to me so many times that when I raised it, I was like, you know what, I understand, but I mean, I told you about the what Nklampulugo did. We were talking about such things.
yeah.
When I
Yeah.
told my parents that I know that you said that I ruined your life because you're not planning me, you had your own plans. But then you said no, but then I was just saying, like, yeah, but you've said it so many times, and your actions also accompany your your
Mm,
words. So
Wait. Mm,
for yes, for so many years, I've been trying to protect you and say you are not meaning that, but then your actions have been constantly showing me that. And
mm,
now I am truly believing it, and I want you to know that I am aware that I ruined your life. I apologize. I had no control over it, but it is what it is. Um, and then I took the part of healing. Yes, it's painful, but the fact that I finally accepted it, that she's been saying and she's been showing. I mean,
mm,
it helped me to heal. I've been healing from that as well. So there
mm,
is a lot going on about that, but it's just a matter of just going back to God. I mean, God says, I knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb. So God knew that, okay, I'll put you in this woman's womb because I want you to be the one probably healing her on certain issues. So I believe that my existence in life is part of her role, not her role, it's part of her healing as well on the
mm.
things that probably if I was not her child, she would have not healed from.
Yeah.
So me being there is part of fulfilling God's purpose about what he wants about her in life.
Yeah. Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
You said we
Intense,
should
intense
close.
things. Yeah. It's becoming intense
Yeah.
now. um,
Yeah.
okay, so Michelle says, Dr. Tembeka Buleni, so true. I've had to accept it and walk in my healing. And the cute Michelle is answering Mpo,
Mm,
saying Jesus was talking to the spirit that was operating inside of Peter at that moment. It sounds right. The cute Michelle, your answer sounds right. Because I think
mm,
um, who was asking, or what did Jesus say when he said, but I think I also agree. And just as a word of encouragement, like what you're saying, Dr. TC, on your side, that lately it's been saying, I mean, there has been a lot of exposure around the issue of, okay, people saying, okay, my mother says this, some others, my father did this, my father said that.
mm,
And also, even the issue of the
mm,
churches. With as much as Corona had other negative implications, there were other positives because what God did, He
mm.
removed everyone and everything from our lives so that we go back to Him, so that we depend only on Him. Because if you think about it, most of the
Yes.
things that we're holding on to, they were removed. People were forced to notice that
Mm,
He is God and He's the only God. He is not even in the building, He lives inside of us. Because there are people who never thought they could skip church 1 week and survive. But God showed people that you will still
mm,
live and you'll be fine without attending. Not that you mustn't attend the church, but remember, it had come to a point where people had made it as if their luck, their blessings were through someone. But God removed all of those type of strongholds that were over people, whether through our own parents, whether through our some bosses, whether through the
mm,
churches, whatever that was a stronghold, God removed that and detached that. So now it will be difficult for people who are in those positions to just suddenly come take over again, because now you have experienced freedom
mm.
that you thought you could experience. So like I think it's Psalms, I just forgot 20 something, where God says, even if it is David, I get are, even if your mother and your father desert you, I will not desert you. So that tells us that there are key people in our lives that can neglect, who are not
Yes,
supposed to
also in
neglect.
Proverbs and also it Psalms.
Yes, God says, even if they do, because He's also showing you that eventually He's the center,
Yeah.
not even your mother, not even your father. He remains the center. You still have life inside of you
Yes,
because
yes.
He is within you.
And
And Paul says,
yes,
why nowadays
and
people
I really think that
call it abuse. Okay, can I just answer that quickly, Dr. Tis? Then you will close. Um, rebuke is very important. Proverbs talks a lot about wise people are open to being corrected, and correction must happen because we need law. Because when there's no correction, when there's no truth, there's lawlessness, and now that is a disaster. But it's a matter of how is it done. So now, if somebody rebukes you in a way that it totally crushes your spirit, that's different. So now it's okay, let's put it this way. So if somebody rebukes you, the person, instead of rebuking your behavior, that's the difference. So now if somebody wants to correct you, they must correct your behavior, your decisions, your actions. Rebuke those, don't rebuke the person. Because once the rebuke is an attack on the person, then it's not rebuke anymore. Because when you rebuke
yeah,
coming from a good place, you do it constructively. So it's like somebody saying they want to correct you with something, they start beating you up, kicking you. I mean, most likely you won't even change your behavior if somebody approaches you like that, compared to somebody saying, you know what, I must say I'm really disappointed with the decision that you took because it really made me feel sad. And I felt like you undermined me, or it made me feel so small in terms of how you did it. That's totally different compared to somebody just beating you up and saying, you don't listen. I told you yesterday, you are repeating it again. You're so useless. Huh? What type of person are you? Useless. Who's your mother? So obviously in that, there's no, that person is not coming from a good leadership within themselves. They are totally under the ego because the only way that they can rebuke you is by crushing you. That is not coming from a good place. But when somebody rebukes your actions, meaning they want you to want to change after that correction, they will attack the thing, not you, the person. That is the difference. Okay, Mpo says thank you. Thanks, Mpo. Dr. TC, can you
thank
please
you guys.
close?
Thank you guys for joining us. We hope that you learned something or something was awakened within you. Your spiritual intelligence was enticed. We give you a taste and also
Absolutely.
made you desire
Mhm.
um, to be striving in the spiritual intelligence. Thank you for
Yeah.
joining us. I always say that if even if you just took one thing from this, it's really appreciated because that means our job is done. What God
Yeah.
called us to do, we fulfilled it because we're
Yes.
here to fulfill the purpose. So we
Nice.
really
Thank you,
appreciate it, guys.
doctors.
We really
Really
hope
gained
that
a
you
lot.
learned.
Mpo says we learned a lot. Kit Michelle says I definitely learned something. Thank you, beautiful ladies. 1970 King says, Doc, you're beautiful. Lenvin says fire. We don't know if there's spiritual fire or, or just the show was on fire.
No, I think it's the fire that is being enlightened within him.
Yeah.
We thank you. Good night,
Thank you
guys.
so thank you so much, Dr. Tisia. I always appreciate your wisdom. Thanks for sharing the platform with me. To everybody else, good night. We'll announce our next live. If anyone has a specific topic that they would like us to discuss, please just drop it. Somebody says, beautiful smile to dog. I don't know if, or is it me? Because, okay, you can only see me.
Yes,
Um, okay, it's me. So now, Dr. TC is responsible for my style. So if you want to be like me, make her your dentist.
wow.
Yeah. Okay, so if anyone has a specific topic that they prefer or they want us to address, we are all rounders. We can discuss business. We can discuss anything. We can basically discuss anything.
Here's a topic.
Anything. I mean, today's discussion was supposed to be business, leadership, workplace, but it ended up being spiritual. So it ended up being like a more of a spiritual experience, which is amazing. It's the best place to be in because then it takes over all of the areas in your life, and you're just in a better place. The cute Michelle healing the inner child. Next topic. Okay, I love that. What do you think, Dr. TC? Healing the inner
Yeah, it's a
child.
beautiful.
I love it. I love it. Yes. Um, staff stock DSR says Dr. T, the best, and thank you, ladies, for today. Stay blessed. Dr. T, that was for you.
Thank you. Bless as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't think we'll finish saying goodbye and talking, but I think
Okay, bye.
we're going to take the suggestion. Mpo says good night and sweet heavenly dreams. Amen and amen. Let's go and dream. Everybody, good night. And let the
Good
spirit
night.
reign is a better place to be. Let's ask God to, to grant us the wisdom because it's a gift that He will give to us when we ask. And Tepiso is, do you remember Tepiso? Tepiso just joined now. She says, I just missed this. You remember Tepiso from our first live, Doc?
Oh, I remember. I remember. Hi, Tapiso.
Tepiso just missed it. But at some point, we're going to post this TikTok lives on YouTube. The YouTube is Heaven on Earth with Dr. Bibi. We'll try to keep up and post some of them so that if you missed it or you want to listen to this again, you'll be able to listen and watch. We'll keep you updated. In the meantime, you can check the videos that are posted there. Heaven on Earth with Dr. Bibi. Sepsu says, good evening, doctors. Good night, Sepi. So we're leaving. You just came as we are opening the door. Like literally we're going out. Okay. Good night, dog. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much.